All right, finally something other than a drill, and that is this. A 200 Allis Chalmers, which I don't know if we've seen it before on the channel, but it belongs to the guy who brought that other 200. And it's gonna get pretty well the same treatment as the other one. So we're gonna get started on it right after this. Welcome back. If you haven't seen my videos before, I'm Ross the Oliver Man. Here we have another 200 Allis Chalmers, something different than just working on that Great Plains drill for a change. And he brought me this one with the idea that we should fix leaks, much like we did to the other one. This one, the last time I worked on it, I actually helped him put tie rods on. And we had trouble with the Chinesium tie rods wanting to slide all the time. So we finally put them where we wanted them and then welded them, which I don't recommend because if something happens, they bend, you can't adjust them. But every time he'd turn the wheels, they'd slide in and out. I talked to an old mechanic and he said probably if we had taken that shaft out and brake cleaned it up and then wire wheeled it and stuff and then clamped it, it probably would have stayed. He was thinking like the residual of the, what do you call that stuff? Cosmoline, you know, might have been on there and whatever. He said years ago when they had the dealership, said people would work and struggle to get the old tie rods off. So when they'd put a new one on, you know, they'd say, oh, I'm going to put some grease on this and then put her together. Well, as soon as they did that, it didn't last 5 feet and it would go out of adjustment. So that makes sense to me. I wish I would have known that at the time. I would have tried something else, but this guy had it hooked to, I think, the feed wagon and wanted to use it. So we, yeah, had to make her go. But that's okay. He drove it down here. It's working fine. But as we can see, there are many other things leaking. And that's what he told me he wanted was leaks stopped. And then he also said, do you want me to clean it up first? And I said no. That was stupid of me, wasn't it? But really the reason was I wanted to see what areas might we be dealing with. And it's basically the same as the other one, I think. I don't remember if we got into O-rings on here on the other one, but I'm thinking that we're probably going to be doing that on this one. Boy, that's, see, this is going to be a puzzle too, or a not puzzle, but a confusing or not always sure, because this tractor has been repainted, so I'm sure that a lot of stuff got painted over back at that time. So just because it's got orange paint on it doesn't mean it's original. It's probably already been replaced once, but definitely probably we'll do the O-rings there. Valve cover gasket again. We will reseal all this like we did on the other one. He did say he wants, we'll go back this way because then it'll make sense. He said go ahead and put all 4 lines under the cab like we did on the other one, because you can see this is a greasy, oily mess, but I don't think that's coming all from the hoses. But see, yeah, that one might be. But at any rate, he said he didn't want any more trouble with it, so we're going to do all that. We probably ought, we're going to clean this up here in a minute. We should probably go ahead and replace those seals in the rock shaft at the same time, this time, instead of waiting to try to do it later. I'm kind of concerned that maybe the lift cylinders are leaking, but I don't think that he uses the 3-point that much. It's got a lot of grease and oil and stuff down there. I don't know what we'll find there, if anything. This side is a terrible mess. It looks to me like his fuel filter's been leaking. It also looks like our return lines have issues up there, and that's probably what's been running down, making this all a mess. And the typical stuff. It actually looks like this injection pump has not been leaking. So that's good, you know. But everything else is covered fairly well. Yeah. fairly well. So I got some Miracle in a can here, and I guess I'm going to spray it on there and then probably drive it up there to the hydrant and try to see if my little pressure washer will fire up, and you know, my little cordless DeWalt job. I need to just buy a gas-powered pressure washer and be done with it, but anyway, today we're going to do that and see what happens. Why is there a shiny spot on that pulley? Does the air conditioning belt rub that pulley? I bet it does. Yep, I bet it does. I bet it comes down and or flops against it and has rubbed that spot. Interesting. Wonder why we have this notch here. One would think it was for the AC compressor, but that's not the case. So I'm not an expert, but I'm sure there was a reason. But anyway, yeah, step one before we do anything is going to just be cleaning. And then I suppose that our number one struggle, I mean, I got to order parts. That's going to be my setback right away. I should have probably looked it over and ordered them, but I've just been so busy that I don't know. It's my fault. I should have done better. But we will clean it up, and I think, like I said, what I'm trying to say or didn't get said is that probably one of the first things we'll take apart is the hoses or lines that go to the back, just because that is difficult. Remember, we have to take the cab floor out. Boy, he didn't clean. I should have said yes, clean it out. But we'll have to remember how we did that. We had to take this floor panel up here, so we had room. There's 2 bolts back by or 4 bolts, I can't remember, back under the seat by the transmission top. We got to take loose in order to jack the cab up. We'll need to take these little windows off because it's got a cab. We don't want it to crunch anything. This piece has to come out anyway because he also wants the temperature gauge fixed, and probably a guy ought to take these little things out. This one is pretty loose. The bolt is no good, but we don't want to kink the hood. The hood's got to come off anyway to do all this, so. But I'd rather not take it all down at once, you know. I'd rather kind of stagger my destruction so that the tractor wouldn't be far from being put back together in an emergency situation. You know, I don't want to tear a bunch of stuff apart just to have it sit here waiting on parts, you know. So that's what my thinking is. This is a real pain in the canoodsin with the cab. I gotta remember, I thought there was something else out here that had to be. I'm just working off of memory, having done this a long whilst back. No, I'm working wrong. You do take them off around the axle because this is all coming up. We want all this to come up with us. So you take them off from the axle. You got to take our hand clutch linkage loose underneath, like we did on the other one, so we don't bend it, because it actually protrudes into the transmission housing there. So we got to take all that loose. Boys, it's just it's a struggle, friends. I'm telling you. But we got to get started on it, or it's never going to get done. So like I said, I'm going to do some degreasing, and then I'll drive it up there and we'll give her the spray down and we'll see what happens. All right, how about that? It's orange underneath. That cleaned up pretty good. A lot of it that helps though is because he does pressure wash it regularly, you know, I think a couple times a year or whatever. So there's nothing on there that's been super duper baked on. There's still a little bit of stuff back in there, I'm sure, where I didn't get to, but we can see that the tractor's orange now all the way around again. I mean, back here, this was solid, covered with a thick layer of bovine excrement and oil. I know that because it was very grainy and stringy. So yeah, that wasn't all grease buildup. But I think I got all the target areas that I'm gonna need to work in, you know, cleaned pretty good, so we're not working around a ton of grease. You know, there's still some there I missed. That is one disadvantage of that DeWalt handheld washer thing, is number one, it gets super heavy after you've used it for a while because you're holding the whole weight of the machine. And number two, it's awkward more so than a regular, just a wand, because you can't really get it up in places as easy. The nozzle on it is really a good diameter around. So, you know, it's not for every day, but what I like about it is it's low enough pressure that it doesn't take off the paint. And, you know, you get a good pressure washer and you accidentally zip across there, it ain't gonna have no paint left on it. So we don't want that. So we got her cleaned up enough. Since we're gonna change the valve cover gasket, I would say we're also gonna change engine oil and filters because we're gonna have all that off. So we need to order those, of course. Probably just like we did to the other one, basically a service of the engine and, you know, hydraulic filters as necessary, and see what we get into. But yeah, I'm guessing that, I mean, our valve cover definitely was leaking, so that was contributing to problems. I would venture to guess that our O-rings here were seeping, which was causing a lot of our buildup around there. So we'll get that addressed. We'll do all this like we did on the other one, get that cleaned up, O-rings, that rubber thing in there, line sleeve I'm saying, and there's a, yeah. It's just trying to put this all in my brain, so after a while when I sit down on the couch and order parts, I can get everything I need. This one probably could stand due for a pair of belts, because we did that to the other one, and these still have paint on them from the when it was painted. We need to look at those closer. Maybe they're usable again. They're loose, but maybe we can tighten them up. Our return line situation is not great, so it probably needs attention all the way around on that. There's little rubber sleeves in those. On top of the ejectors we could change out. This I feel like is leaking, so we're gonna have to figure out what we can do there, because it was that whole area right here and then all over the starter was covered, unless he was just draining it all the time and letting it just run wherever, in which case we can put a little hose back on there and, you know, try to get it where that won't happen. But, you know, it's just, it's one of those things that it's going to take us some time here to do it, but it's worth doing. You know, they were not the kind of people necessarily, or at least his dad, where he basically would not fix things until they fell off or whatever. But then when he brought it in, if you see anything else, go ahead and fix it while it's here. And he was always happy and never complained about the bill. And I think the boy is a little bit more proactive maybe than that, where he tries to get some of the stuff done, you know, when he first notices a problem. That's not always the case, but, you know, I think he's trying to stay after it. And so that's why, you know, like when I called him about those lines under the floor, he said, I think you should probably just go ahead and do those so I don't have problems later. And yeah, because he doesn't want to have downtime, especially all winter long. If he's using this to feed in the winter, it's got to be used every day, and you really don't want to be, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to be tinkering on stuff in the freezing cold weather, and you don't want to, you know, have it break down out in the middle of the field in the snow. So we're going to make it better. The paint is really pretty nice on it. There's a few places where the top coat looks like it's peeling, but, you know, that is what it is. I don't know who he had paint it for him, but the dad had that done. But yeah, this old tractor is, They didn't buy it new. I don't remember where he said they got it, but the only thing about it that is a potentially serious issue I noticed while driving, which I'm sure it's done for a long time and it's not going to get fixed now, and I'll probably never get fixed, is it jumps out of third gear, just like most of these body style do. So, you know, there's a lot of them out there that are that way, and there's really no easy way to fix it. You got to tear the transmission apart. So you better be really in love with the tractor before you do that, so because that'll get pricey pretty quick. But yeah, we got her cleaned up, and so we will let this dry a little bit so we're not getting totally covered with water and soaked and grease and everything, residual stuff. But we will get this started to come apart, and hopefully, you know, we can have this done in a timely fashion. All right, where to begin? Well, probably by cleaning this out, because we got to have this piece of the floor up, and we got to get those 4 bolts loose back there, and take those corners out of the cab, take the black piece off. I want to do the hydraulic hoses first, because that is going to take the most time, I believe, to get all that stuff loose. The motor we can work on easily, you know. I can drive it farther under the shed if need be, if it starts to be bad weather. But this is the most little stuff to take loose, but we got to start somewhere, and we're going to start right here cleaning. So we're going to hope that the little DeWalt sweeper has it in it. Probably not with that battery, it sounds like. Lots of sand. This tractor lives in the sand country. That's actually crazy, the amount of sand. I mean, that's a lot of sand. All right, not perfect, but good enough to do what we want. We can clean the floorboard off once we get it out. I don't quite remember, what a shocker, if some of these are, I think they're all supposed to be threaded into the platform, but if there's one that's broken or something, then it probably has a nut on the back side. I've run into that issue before. Not a pleasant issue, you know. I also wonder where my little mini impact is. That would certainly save me some time. Is it handy by? It is. It probably won't have enough juice. I need to charge the batteries on everything one day. Magnetic tray. Should have probably grabbed that. Where should we put that? Well, I didn't clean it out. It's still got other stuff in it, so sure. But that's going to save us a little time. And I can tell you right now, friends, working through this cab door, that's just amazing. You know, with it poking in your gut, just makes it so much better. See, once we get this off, we can take this and wash it off better or whatever. I don't like to put water in the cab, you know, if possible, although I may not have a choice. Okay, now that gets us, remember, I guess I should show you while I'm talking and not just leave you in the dark. See, the ingenious engineer who designed this thought, why should we move it right in this open hole where a guy could work on it? Why shouldn't we just go ahead and put it back under the platform so, you know, they really have to work for it? And that's exactly what they did. So we got to take that whole bracket loose in order to get enough room to pop those lines up off of there. But that's okay. We've done that before. It's just even more fun when you're sandwiched here, like between the wheel and this door, and that's great. So that was step A, point 1. And now step A.234. Actually, it should probably be taking the battery cable off, because is it really safe to be working on this with the battery cable on when if something happened and it accidentally started, it would potentially burn up his hydraulic system or something, or start leaking profusely or whatever. Also, I need to clean. I keep saying that. It never happens. This Mickey Mouse setup I got going on is... Oh, great. I can't get all the way back on this side because the door is against the shed. And that caused me some issues. So. Oh, who cares? You know, maybe we should just roll the dice on this. Famous last words? I think so. I mean, if it starts up, it's not really going to hurt too much, other than a giant fireball and killing me. So if that's the worst that could happen, who cares? All right. Now, first thing we're going to do is cut all these lines. No, we're not going to do that. That would have nothing to do with anything. Plus, that's a rod, not a line. We're going to take the hand clutch linkage out. You see? Because this is going to go up, and that is protruding into the transmission case, and if you don't do that, bad stuff happens, you see? And I can't remember if I think I just pulled this key, or this right here, and then this E-clip, and just pulled her out after, of course, taking this loose. So, that's what we're going to try first. You know, it's been like 6-8 months or a year since I did this. You know, I've done it on quite a few of them. The same procedure to change those lines under the floor of the cab. It's amazing that I don't remember. Oh, you know why it's under tension? Because I have it in high range. And is it worth getting up to get that into neutral? I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong. See, it naturally wants to self-center to neutral. Such self-centered valve. Only thinks about itself. I'm going to put this thing back in here so that I lose it. Because why would we want to keep it, you know? That gives us a little play, but see, not quite enough. So, we got more to do. Now, would Ross be smart enough? The answer right away is no. You don't even have to know the rest of the question. But, was he smart enough to bring a screwdriver? No, he wasn't. So he's gonna MacGyver it. I've also said before, I hate these E-rings. They're not my favorite fastener. You know? Now I'll stick you over here so that you can witness this sadness. See, we're gonna take this out. And it should let us pull that out of there, which it does. There, beautiful. Now, just remember, and hopefully we don't lose those orange washers. I don't think they'd go anywhere, but I don't know. We'll just leave them hang, and if they get lost, I'll deal with that later. But there's some other thing that has to go. Potentially this. I don't know what. Is that more traction booster? No, that has to go because that is the hydraulic PTO. And that is different on this one. Dad's has it, but it's not on the other one. I think I have to take that loose because it goes up. And then I have to take some of this traction booster linkage loose. I don't remember what I if I took this out, maybe, and just let this rod hang, and then this bracket here would also, geez, I don't remember what I did. There's probably enough play in this if I take this rod out, right? Or is it the thing on the back? There's something that can't make the journey with it, and I don't remember which thing that is. So we may just take several things loose to be safe. I think it's that thing with the spring back there that has to go loose, but then also, yeah, because this should go up just fine. This will all stay with the floor, so that should be fine. I think it's that back thing. Although it could be also this. I don't remember. Because see, that won't pull up anymore, but it should. We'll look outside there. But I am going to take that PTO link off because I think it has to. Because that valve is mounted to the frame or the transmission. Let's get that out of there. Okay. To be on the safe side, I could do something, and that is just take this loose right here. Yeah, I like that a lot more better. I'm gonna put this lock nut back on here. All right. That makes me feel more better. Did I really have to do that? I don't know, but that way at least all that stuff is loose. And then I think there's one on the back that has to come loose. But otherwise, we are probably pretty good under here. Now, I say that, but we're still gonna have to take loose all that. There's 2 bolts there. Oh, sorry. There's a carriage bolt I see. That could be a good time. And then there's this one back here that's all caked up in stuff, so that'll be a good time. And then there's 2 on the other side, but in my experience, it's probably a good idea to first break loose the lines on the valve before we attempt anything like that, because if we take that all loosey-goosey, it may not hold it tight enough for us, and we don't have a lot of room for slop in there to be able to maneuver wrenches and stuff. So yeah, but I think that part of it is okay now. See, where's that thing with the spring go? It goes right there to the lift arm, and I think that has to come out. There we go. Just a little tippity tap with an inappropriate hammer. That's all she took. That popped loose. This is not wasted effort. You can see the cracking and stuff of the old time rubber. So I support his decision there and just go ahead and doing. I mean, this one is basically the same age as the other one, so it stands to reason that all of that stuff is equally wore out. So I think I'm going to call this video here, because just this section was over 20 minutes, and then I had 3 videos from yesterday with it. So we'll put this all together in one, and we'll call this quits here. But in the next one, we'll start tearing her down more and trying to get those lines out of there. Do you suffer from low intelligence and are easily entertained? Well, then hit that thumbs up button and leave a comment. And that way we can keep making entertainment that your feeble minds can understand. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.